Sunmakers, a classic Robert Holmes story.
Where are we?
We're still in the solar system.
The ninth planet.
Pluto's a lifeless rock.
It is like Earth.
It's all wrong. It shouldn't be like Earth.
We created a new environment for them here on Pluto.
Magnificent!
6 suns to be fueled and serviced.
The taxes, I can't pay the taxes.
Taxes are the primary consideration to me.
These taxes, they are like sacrifices to tribal gods.
Paying taxes, no.
Then the people should rise up and slaughter their oppressors.
You spoke. Within 10 seconds, everyone in the city will be dead. I shall have you steamed for your interference. This is the moment when I get a real feeling of job satisfaction.
So in the Sunmakers, the TARDIS arrives on a planet where essentially the society exists around making profit.
The story happened because the writer Robert Holmes had just received a ridiculous tax bill.
Right, okay.
So he wrote this story, but also at the same time, it's not just a spoof on the tax system. He had just had terrible run-ins with the BBC, and it's actually a spoof on the BBC itself and the red tape, which is why they keep on going, bless the great company, which is actually a spoof on the BBC. It's set on the world of Pluto. The Doctor lands on Pluto. Mankind moved from Earth first to Mars, and now they've moved to Pluto.
So this is early days of colonialism.
Yes, and Pluto, though, it's got faults. They've got, this is why it's called the Sunmakers. They have 6 artificial suns around Pluto. A week is 24 hours long. You work a 23-hour shift. You get 1 hour's rest time, and you have to have drugs so you can sleep, get all your sleep within that hour. And basically the company, which is from another galaxy, which has helped plant mankind on Pluto, is having mankind work for this company, but is taxed in every way possible. This character is trying to bury his father, and he's actually relieved that his father didn't weigh that much when he died because there's a weight tax. I love this story.
Do you?
Really, because at the same time I can see why some people wouldn't like it. It's one of those typical stories where it's got a great script to it. The script's fabulous. There's some wonderful acting in it, but it's very much let down by the directing and also the production values. I mean, this story actually happened. There was a change in producer at the time on Doctor Who, and Doctor Who got into was getting huge ratings, but there was terrible complaints about the violence in the show and the horror. So there was a request from high up in the BBC to get rid of the horror, get rid of the violence, and to increase the comedy and the adventure. So that's why they bring in K9. You have more stories like this, less stories like the Talons of Weng Chiang and Pyramids of Mars. And there was also a 30% budget cut. Even though it was getting like 10, 11, 12 million viewers, had a huge budget cut. And originally this story was supposed to have this lavish look. They were going to make it look like the Aztecs and the Incas, because they, Sunmakers. And
well, they did. You can see some of the productions, and they're trying to
but
very
apparently they had this whole production thing ready to go, and then they were so sorry. This is all the money you've got. I love the fact that it's very typical Robert Holmes. You've got these great characters. I love the Gatherer. I love the Collector. I think they're two of the best.
I do want to say that when I was a kid, I was living in the Maida Vale area of London.
Yeah.
In a flat, and the person who lived above me was this actor, Henry Wolff.
Yeah.
So I was ecstatic actually as a child watching the Sunmakers, because the guy who used to live above me was the bad guy. Yeah. So that was fantastic.
Well,
and there's always been the scene where he, I suppose it's a bit of a spoiler, where he dies at the end, but it's not really, because all the bad guys die in Doctor Who. The scene at the very end is just so ingrained in my memory, because it's like, oh, no, Henry's being flushed down the toilet.
He was an alien. Even though he was an alien, they gave him a pinstripe caftan to make him look like a businessman.
Yeah.
But I just thought this is so different to anything in science fiction you normally get. Normally they're fighting, robots or things, but instead this time they're fighting the tax man. And there's these wonderful lines which, like they're saying, is paying your taxes like giving sacrifices to tribal gods, and the Doctor goes, no, it's more painful. Or when Leela goes, does everybody run from the tax man? And there's these wonderful lines like that, and it's very clever, very well written in that kids can watch it and it's just an adventure, it's just a ripping adventure,
sure.
and adults here lies in it like, we've got to escape down corridor P45 and things like that, and there's a lot of humour in it which the adults, the parents watching with it will enjoy. And I just think the characters in it, there's some really good characters, as always with Robert Holmes. There's great dialogue, great characters. It's just kind of like let down, like the scene you got here, the action scene in the corridor. It just gets very much down to corridor Doctor Who.
You know, they're
running
driving,
down
they're driving the cart
corridors.
past the guys who seem to they can't shoot them at like 2 feet away. It's like, you know.
I think there's a lot wrong with the design of the show. There's a lot wrong with the directing, but I still love this story.
On a technical note, though, 2 Entertains work on the picture quality.
Oh, it's fabulous.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Definitely from me, the Sunmakers gets a thumbs up from me. I love that story. But anything that is written, I always say, you know, Doctor Who is one of the few successful science fiction shows which was created by a committee. Even though they say it was Sidney Newman who nobody really created. It was created by a committee. It's not like Star Trek, which is Gene Roddenberry.
Yes.
Or Buffy and Firefly, which is Joss Whedon. X-Files, you got Chris Carter. Babylon 5, you got Joe Straczynski. Doctor Who, who's in charge? You know, it's just the product the BBC owns.
Yeah.
But I feel that very much Robert Holmes was the writer who shaped what Doctor Who
without a doubt.
very much is.
You know, that I do love this particular era.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
Leela the Leela stories are some of my favourites.
Russell T Davies actually came out with a comment where he said the Talons of Wang Chiang, the writing in it, he says, is equal to anything that Dennis Potter did.
The Sunmakers, yes, good. I mean,
I'll go with the Sunmakers, and it's
extras?
and it's
What
got
are the DVD
well,
extras?
you've got a usually they would do like 2 or 3 10-minute documentaries, like one a making of, which is several people doing anecdotes. Then they would do some kind of like scientific thing for a show like this, then a separate documentary on the political thing. They actually, for this one, they put them all in one documentary. And actually, I think works a lot better that way. It's better to have one long, meaty documentary.
No, I agree, especially when you see those, they are in 10-minute episodes. And you think, but that's the same interview from the one they've got earlier, so why don't they just put it all together?
So that works. It's a very good, and they've got a oh God, I'm trying to remember his name now at the moment. The music composer. Can somebody remind me in the chat room? And how can I not remember his name? Because he was worked on Doctor Who for like 15 years and did a brilliant job on the show until being rather unceremoniously fired by John Nathan Turner.
Yes.
But they've got a wonderful little documentary.
I was filming one afternoon, and around 5:30, I was taking a pause, and one of the producers came up to me and said, "Oh, Stephen asked," that's Mr. Moffat, Stephen asked if you would like to do a trailer for this episode. I said, tell me, when does the word no come into any of this? Right? So I said, oh, yeah, fine. It'll be you and 3 other characters. Oh, excellent. So will we get time to rehearse it? Oh, well, not sure about that yet, but the script will be in your trailer at about later this evening, because they were writing it as we speak. So at 5:30 it's being written. By the time I'd finished and got to my trailer, it was about 11 o'clock at night. Got the script, opened it up, and the other 3 characters were mute. So in other words, it was a monologue.